It's a Tuesday evening, so that must mean it's time to go down the rabbit hole together. Welcome to Beyond 2D.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here with you guys tonight with, of course, myself, Jessica Dugas, and my fabulous
What's up?
co-host.
What's up? What's up, people? How you doing?
I'm feeling some kind of way about this topic. We're gonna
And as you should be.
Oh yes, it's gonna be great. Brittany's joining us already. She had a front row seat out there. We got the Jacksons here this evening. We have Brittany says, I'm excited to hear about today's topic. I think excited is not the word I would use, but I am excited to be in this space with you, though, because I think we've established, especially in those first 4 episodes of the show, that we are capable of creating a safe space to explore these topics. So that does create a little bit of buzz, a little bit of excitement. And I am here tonight with my my fresh new bifocals this evening. So it's better to see clearly with this for topics like this.
Who sang that song anyway?
I don't know. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
Well, I'm swimming in denial, so I don't have my glasses on. I swim in denial with my glasses.
It's easy to swim in denial with this topic. But my hope, let's start with, let me ask you, we're going to spend the next 4 episodes or so talking about integrity and the kind of offshoots from it. What is your hope as we explore this topic?
You know, my hope for people who listen to as we share our own experiences is that you find where your integrity is located at, because a lot of times it's not within us. Usually it's outside somewhere. So I believe that you'll be able to find your integrity within yourself, and that's going to take some work, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think the word is integrity, so we got to figure it's in,
always
right?
In.
Something like that. Yeah, my hope is really that that people absolutely can get things from this, but also that we can have that honest and integrity conversation about integrity, because it's one that you said it, it's easy to dance around. It's easy to not be real about times when maybe you haven't acted in integrity, or I don't even like that phrase, which we'll get into in a minute. But at any rate, that's what we're talking about tonight, guys. The definition of integrity. If you're joining us live or on the replay, I would love for you to say hi, let us know where you're joining from, and let us know as we go through your thoughts on integrity, whether it's with yourself or in different areas of your life. We would love to hear about it. So, shall we start with some textbook definitions, and then we'll run with it from there?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I got 3 different definitions here, of course, because dictionary.com is my friend. Number 1, integrity is the adherence to moral and ethical principles, soundness of moral character, and honesty. Yeah. Number 2. Number 2, the state of being whole, entire, or undiminished. And what it means by this is, let me scroll up to my notes here, meaning to preserve the integrity of something. So like of an empire or a group, or the wholeness of something. And number 3 is a sound, unimpaired, or perfect condition. Those are some more big words, meaning the integrity of a ship's hull, meaning a ship is in integrity if it doesn't have any holes in it and doesn't drown.
Right.
So that would be a bad thing. So those are the ones that I have, but I'm gonna bring up that first one because I feel like that goes into a little bit deep of what we're talking about here. Adherence to moral and ethical principles, soundness of moral character, and honesty. What's your initial thoughts about that, Ron?
See, before we can have a conversation about integrity, these are the things that people have to, or I know I had to first get in touch with my own morals and ethical principles, right?
Yeah.
Because we all grow up in different environments and different backgrounds, and our environments teaches us how to react and how to respond to situations in our household and those same situations in our life. And so everybody, I won't say everybody, but we all have different morals and ethical principles I would say they're similar, but
Mm,
they talk about them differently. So we end up saying the same things in different languages or different words, but we all have a level of moral principles and
mm,
ethical. But I don't think we realize that in principles, we're used by those, right? So if you have a corrupted moral or corrupted ethical principle that your family taught you that may not be the truth in the world, but is your truth in your environment, then you're being used by that principle that might have you thrown off in life, right? As your
right.
experience with other people. And
Yeah.
and I, and I believe that's why we hear people talk about, and I don't like this term, is your moral compass. Like I
Mm.
don't like that. Like what are
I
you
think we get our compasses from different stores sometimes.
Acme? How about that one? So for me, like that definition is really good because again, we're gonna we have to self-examine ourselves before we can put these conversations off on other people in our life.
Mm,
And so you have to get in touch with your moral and your ethical principles because principles we're used by them. And I don't know if people really understand how important principles are that we
mm,
have in our life that we follow
right.
because we're being used by them. Even subconsciously we're used by them because they were taught to us,
Mm,
right? So that definition is definitely I'm agreement with, and the number two definitions too. We'll get into that one later, but that one
yeah.
totally um I've learned as I got my walk with Christ that those are biblical principles,
Mm,
and you don't talk about them, you use by them, you talk
right.
from them, which is a whole different experience that I have about myself.
Right, right. And you and I had just a little back and forth before the show earlier today, and you were kind of saying like it's point blank that
Yeah.
this is what it is, right? And then part of me was thinking about this part of if our morals and principles differ, that's where the integrity is going to differ, like as far as what that shows up like, what it looks like. The integrity is going to look different.
Little bit.
If the integrity will look different if our morals and principles are completely different. Like if the principles that we live by, now I'm not talking about if they're right or wrong. That's another another conversation. But if I live by a principle of one thing and you live by something else, how we show up, which is what integrity is going to look really different.
And I hope, well, not that I hope, but I'm pretty sure this episode,
Yeah.
what you just said, we're gonna get that one clear.
Yeah.
Because if I have my moral and ethical principles and you have yours and they're different, the whole integrity is I can respect and I can listen to you from yours because I'm
Right.
not worried about yours. Yours are not threatening mine. Yours are not challenging my morals and principles. So I plan to help shuffle through this to where we put it in a context and a perspective where it's not a battle of integrity.
Right.
It's a more of this is my morals and principles. Those are yours. And how did you get yours?
Mm.
Because I'm
Can
not
we
worried about mine.
right. Can we respect that? Can we
Exactly.
can we be okay with communicating?
Exactly. And that's what you hear in the world is like, we want all this from other people, but we don't have it.
Right.
We don't even recognize that we have it for ourselves first.
Right.
I'm
Right.
demanding it from you, and I don't even know what it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Um Angelique said moral compass is extremely subjective. Absolutely.
Yes.
And then Brittany said integrity is definitely internal. It looks different to everyone, just like loyalty.
Oh, there's that word again.
Mm, hmm
Mm.
Yeah. Some of these words we've been putting out here are pretty big. I'll be honest. They're not big, but they hold a lot of weight. They hold a lot of weight.
Oh
Some of these
yeah.
words. Yeah.
In the world, they do, but emotionally, we actually hold the key to those.
Yeah.
That's why those words, they don't trigger me, but when I hear, I want loyalty, what are you really saying?
Right.
Because loyalty to me might not be the same to you. So now we're gonna
Right.
be disagreeing on what loyalty looks like. So now you're gonna be keeping score of my loyalty count, and you're not even present to the relationship because you're worried about if I'm being loyal or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are the things that I see kind of takes us off target. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
it's in
Yeah,
the
we're not
Texas.
going to have a conversation about what loyalty means to this Sicilian over here, which is not appropriate for this show. Okay, that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
Linda, go to that number 2 definition: the state of being
Yes.
whole, entire, undiminished. Let me just get my thought out here really quick before I lose it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so here we are talking the state of being whole.
Mhm.
Isn't like when we talk about being whole, my mind went immediately to who we are. That's who we are in the moment right now. Like you are whole. Like we're not like missing a piece of us somewhere. Like we are who we are in the moment. We are whole. So wouldn't um like, and if you think about integrity, okay,
Mhm.
wouldn't it be like my integrity today on the principles that I live by today and the morals that I have today, my integrity today looks very different than what my integrity was like, say, I'm gonna be generous to myself and say 15 years ago.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. I
I
want to be
hope.
generous.
Hopefully, it's not. I would hope it's not the same 15 years ago.
Right, but we think so when this takes me back to what you were saying about meeting people in a place of like going, you have you're acting from integrity where you are, I'm acting from integrity where I am. And so even this to me, the state of being whole definition takes me to offer that same grace to Jessica 15 years ago.
Oh, definitely, and
Yeah.
and that would be your freedom to
Yeah.
Jessica today
Yeah.
by giving that Jessica 15 years ago grace.
Mm.
Gives you your and so the state of being. These are my favorite because I've studied the being of human beings. So that is a
Yeah.
word for me that you have to be that, right? It's a way of
Yeah.
being. It's principles, right? We said the first definition had principles, and then you're being used by principles, so that you're being the state of whole. So when you have integrity, you experience being whole and complete. It's an
Mm.
experience, and when you don't have integrity, that's when you feel diminished. So
Mm.
you see, it says undiminished.
Right.
So a lot of times, or for myself, when I just started doing my own work and I started to peel off those layers from 15 years ago, like you said, wow, I experienced so much of me diminishing of myself.
Mm.
Oh, like disappointment, upsets,
Yeah.
regret, resentment. Those are not whole and complete experiences.
Yeah.
So when you experience being whole and complete, all that stuff is dealt with
Mm.
from 15 years ago, from 2 years, from whatever, from yesterday. Like, so it's an
Yeah.
experience. So the state of being whole is not what you're doing, is who you're being. And you can experience being whole and complete living from integrity, or
Mm.
being integrity. And we'll get more to that, like I said, throughout the show, because I have a way to express that or articulate that from that perspective of the being
Mm.
integrity, and not just, oh, I'm gonna do this and then that's my integrity over there. No, it's not out there, it's over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I want to ask everybody that's out in the audience tonight and on the replay as well, and then I'll turn it towards you, Farron. Do you think you can learn to have integrity? Is it a learned thing? Like, can you just sit down one day and go, I want to learn how to have integrity today? Is this a class that we can take?
Yeah. And you said it, but you said it at the start.
Hmm.
What is this not?
Yeah.
So we have to talk about what is not integrity.
Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah.
doing that, you'll get to look in your life and be like, oh, there it is. That's where I don't have integrity over there.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have integrity over there. Like military, duty, honor, courage, integrity. Like I had it in my area of a soldier,
Mm.
but in my area that I decompartmentalized as Farron in my personal life, very little integrity. So how
Mm.
could I have it in my military career, but not in my personal life?
Right.
Because my
Right.
mind was trying to separate, or whatever I was experiencing of myself diminished in my personal life, but I felt this identity in this uniform, but it's still
Right.
it's still Farron.
Yeah.
So I have great days and then I have days where I feel diminished
Mm, yeah.
because over here where I am, and our brain thinks that we can separate integrity and separate these ways of being, but it's really where I'm uncomfortable in those areas, or where I feel a diminished experience of myself in relationships, in communication.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
You
still
said you said to look at what integrity is not, and the dictionary says the opposite of integrity is dishonesty. That's why I put that on the screen. That's what the textbook says. And it's interesting because I'm not, I don't know, like I feel like integrity is such a layered big word that maybe in my own mind I'm like, and dishonesty just to me feels so simple, like that feels so simple to me. Honesty, like just be honest, like there's that like just right before. And when I say, if I use that same like just be honest, that seems so simple to me, but if I say just have integrity, that feels like, does it feel any different to you, the difference between using the words honest and integrity?
definitely it used to, right? But
Mm.
again, because of my work in this for the last 13 years, and on myself, I can only speak for myself.
Mm.
Dishonesty, what's dishonest to you again might not be to me. From my perspective, might not be dishonest,
Mm.
right? Because we pretend about stuff anyway. We lie. We know we lie. We got white lies, big lies. So what is dishonesty for me might not be the same for the person I'm in a relationship with.
Right.
So they could be upset about something that I did was dishonest, but for me, hey, that's how I survived. That's how I made it in life, by not telling
Mm.
the truth about that one piece. But I didn't hurt anybody, but it's still dishonest.
Right.
So we have to
Right.
look and see. That's a good place to look to see, what do I consider that's dishonest in life? Because
Mm.
for other people, it may not be, and for other people that might agree with me, might say, yeah, that's not being dishonest. So now we're stuck in that conversation of
Mm.
what does it mean to be dishonest
Yeah. Yeah.
without all the extra added, like I said, straight to the point, cut and dry. What is being dishonest? What is honesty? Because
Mm.
it's an experience that I'm looking for from you, not from
Mm-hmm.
me. I'm looking it from you. I want
Right.
honesty from you. Then I'm gauging you. I'm looking for an experience that I get from you that shows me that you're an honest person.
Mm.
But that's not exactly how that looks.
Yeah, I think for a long time I really saw honesty as the truth, right? Like that's how I, oh, the truth, like the one thing. But as I've gotten older and time has gone on and I've done like all the personal development I've done and working with other people and everything else, truth is so subjective.
Yeah.
So subjective. And so that therefore honesty has to be subjective. Therefore dishonesty has to be subjective. Therefore, we could keep going
But
and going.
but the one thing against, again, the definition said was principles.
Right.
Principles never change.
Right.
So if we're going to talk about what the truth is, then we have to agree to what the truth is that we're used by in life. And
Mm.
so that's why some people, you know, don't like the Bible.
Right.
That's why people have their different religions, because they go to their truth about their religious beliefs, their philosophy, their ideology, and so I'm living from my principles, which is my truth.
Mm. Yeah.
So again, how are we going to do that with 8 billion people, and we all have a different, or we may have 5 million people that agree with me, but
Mm.
that is 8 billion people. So what's 5 billion? What's 5 million out of 8 billion? That's still a small percentage who agrees with Farron. That doesn't
Right.
make my truth the truth,
Right.
but we still have to at some point in life come to grips in communication that says we're going to gauge this conversation off of this principle, off of this truth. Now, can
Mm.
we agree that this is the truth?
Right.
Then now we can start to communicate from that. Now I can hear you from why do you think that your views of that and my views of that are different, or where it's coming from. But we don't
Right.
do that. We don't take that time. We don't sit down and have those kind of hard conversations
Right.
because of how for me, how I felt diminished in myself. Why would I have that kind of conversation in a relationship?
Right.
I've been disappointed for so many years in myself. Why would I want to have that kind of conversation? Just do it.
Right.
Just be loyal.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just be trust. Just do it so I can feel it.
Right.
Nah,
Right.
that doesn't work. It may
Well,
last. It may last for 2 weeks. It could last for 10 years.
right.
But it's not. It's not a constant. It won't be a constant.
I think it can be really hard, but I think it can also be, we complicate things as humans. Like, we complicate the ability to find that center ground, even if we don't agree on the principle, on whatever's going on. So I always, when we're talking about truth and perspective, I always use the really, really simple example here. So, like, what do you see, Farron?
I see Poland Spring water. It's a
Poland
water bottle.
Spring water, right? Okay. Well, I don't see that. I see, well, God, I gotta give my glasses to work for me right now. I see proudly sourced in Maine, Clear Springs, Hollis, Evergreen, Freiburg. I don't see Poland Spring.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I see a green label that says Poland Spring. That's what I see. So
Right. But I don't see that. So we could sit here and we could argue all day about what you see and what I see, or we can go, can we agree that the principle is that this is a bottle?
right.
Right. And so anytime we talk about truth, like that's the super elementary simple example that I had to keep replaying over and over and over in my mind, to go, no, Jessica, there's not the truth. There is truth in perspective.
Yeah.
There is truth in experience, in personal experiences,
Interpretation, perception.
Yep.
All those come into play just by looking at that water bottle, as you said.
Right. So we complicate things, I feel like, often. I know, I don't just speak for myself here. I have complicated things a lot during the years, and what things look like and what the truth is and all of that. And it really is a meeting in the middle, but it really is as simple as going, can we agree on this? And can I be okay with the fact that you saw the green Poland Spring label?
But do you know why you have that experience of yourself, of complicating things?
Break it down.
I'm asking you though.
Oh, you asking me?
I'm asking you. You said I know. You know why, but you're saying that you recognize it. But do you know why? Where is that coming from?
I am pretty sure that somewhere early in my life there was a principle. It was told to me that it is fact that there is the truth. And that's it. This is even like, okay, think about the experience that we have in school. And I can speak freely about this because I'm a homeschooling mom. But I was raised in public school and private school, both. So I've had that experience. When you go to school, they give you a textbook. Let's take history, for example. Okay, let's push the boundaries here tonight. All right. So they give you a textbook and they say, this is what happened. Mm-hmm. And we know over time that what we have in the history book isn't exactly what happened. You remember when we was all dressing up as pilgrims and Indians? Remember that?
I do.
Okay. And so we have these experiences of adults, of people we look up to, saying, this is the truth. Then time goes on and we learn, okay, that was not quite accurate. All right. And so now we can, I can see why adults are right now are a little bit jaded by that experience. And so we create these principles and these morals that there is one way to things. And then some of us, and I'll speak for myself, as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, there is not just one way. There is not. So my principle has changed about what I believe in and what I live by. That's where it comes from for me. But I can see that growing up, like, we're told.
So let's use that second definition again. Diminish, right?
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine growing up in your environment and again, like you said, thinking that things were the truth, or challenging your parents for your truth versus their truth, right? And then walking away with this diminished experience of yourself because no one's listening to you.
Yep.
No one's hearing you. Where's my voice? Like, I got something to say about that subject. Well, get out of here because I said so. No, this is how I do it because I'm the parent. I don't care. I'm the father. Like, imagine growing up in that environment over time. Your truth and experience of your truth is diminished. That's that definition. That's that part that I love about this definition, the second one.
Yeah.
Because for human beings, look in your life. You if you be honest with yourself, you have experienced yourself being diminished of yourself. You've experienced yourself where you know you didn't do something and you said you was going to do it and you didn't do it, and how diminished, how small you feel about yourself. Like you said, but that's happened from years. It goes back in time. It just didn't happen today.
Yep.
Like I was experiencing that diminish of myself over time. So then how can you have integrity when you feel diminished? That's why it says undiminished. If you feel diminished, you're not gonna experience integrity.
It's okay. This is okay. So my goal was, one of my goals was that we have very real conversation in this conversation. So I can think of a specific time in my life, a specific circumstance when I did not act in integrity. And it's funny because I was actually talking to Brittany about this the other day, because I recognize that in that moment I overpromised something, and I was not able to fulfill that promise. And when I wasn't able to fulfill that promise, I promised something else.
I love it.
And when I wasn't able to fulfill that promise, I didn't just stop there because I'm an overachiever. I promised something else.
Perfect example.
And I have lived with that particular circumstance, because I'm trying not to cry here, Jesus. Because the person that I lied to meant a great deal to me.
Of course.
And in that dishonesty, I realized, looking back, that I kept promising things. And this is literally a realization that I just had this week. That I realized I didn't feel like I was enough to just show up as myself.
Beautiful. That is the best example we're probably going to have today, right? Because with integrity, I don't know if it's too soon. So we're at the 30-minute mark. So this might be a good time to drop this. Yeah, we can ready to get started now. Now that we've got all that out, here it is on the carpet. Integrity, for me, what I learned outside of what the definition says is to do what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it. That's integrity. And if we live that life, you will experience being whole and complete. Right? And it's not perfect.
Right.
Integrity is not perfect. It's an experience. And so for you to say, hey, you know what? I made this promise. Ooh, I didn't keep that one, so I'm going to make another one. And ooh, I didn't keep that one. I'm making another. Guess what? Even in integrity, you can break a promise. Because if I gave my word to you, I can go back and say, you know what? Guess what? I'm not gonna be able to keep that promise. I overspoke. I got to do this. This came up, but guess what? I also got to be responsible for is the consequence of me breaking my word now. Right? So you can break a promise because no one's perfect, but are you willing to be responsible for the consequence that's going to cause by breaking that promise? Then that's a whole nother episode. But I love how you said that, because that's what we do. We make promises, and in the background, I don't feel like I'm good enough anyway. That's the diminished experience I'm talking about. I'm not good enough. I'm not worth it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not. You're not whole and complete. If you have a I'm not, then you're not whole. You're not experiencing being whole and complete. It's not that you're not whole and complete. It's your experience of yourself. And the definition of integrity that I live by, the principle is do what you say when I do what I say when I say I'm going to do it, and in the time that I said. And if I don't do it, then I got to go back and clean it up.
And you be good with the consequences.
And I have to look first. I got to look and be like, okay, I gave that promise. What's the possible consequences? Oh my goodness. Am I okay with that? Yeah. If I'm not okay with that, then I need to stick to what I gave my word to and what time I gave my word, and then rearrange the rest of that stuff. Yeah. Because I don't want to deal with that consequence. But again, if I'm diminished of myself over 20 years of being diminished of or 30 years of being diminished of myself, I'll break that one. Yeah. And if she doesn't want to be with me anymore, I knew she wasn't going to be with me anyway. It's on her. It's on them. It's never me, because I'm not keeping my word. Yeah, of course, I'm not keeping my word, but I will keep my word to myself. Yeah. But we don't, in integrity, you don't recognize that because we've been diminished for so long. It's just like, I'll make another promise. Oh yeah. And then we wonder why people don't talk to us, why people don't respond to us, why people don't believe us, why people don't like all that stuff. Yep. Are consequences for us not keeping our word. But we recognize the experience back then, and it was so hurtful that I don't want to experience it today. So just action speaks louder than words. So just do and so that's the life that we end up living, this cynical, upset, unhappy, not diminished experience in different areas, not every area, but those areas that are important to us, the areas that matter, the areas that I feel like I'm not good enough in. Like I'm good enough for the military, but I'm not good enough for a relationship. So then why is that? I'm Farron. It's me. I'm the common denominator in all of it. But the disappointments in my experience of myself in relationships was so diminished and so disappointing and so upsetting, and I don't even care. Like, oh, I'll be with you, but I don't even care. Because you're going to do what happened in the past. And so, whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to keep my word because this is not going to work anyway. So why even bother? Who's going to leave first? Like, all that stuff goes on. And like I said, the experience of being diminished, and I believe if people who watch this, if you tell the truth to yourself about giving your word to yourself, then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's what that is. Yes, that's what that feels like. Yeah, it feels like I'm small as a person. My experience of myself, not that you are, but your experience. And these conversations are based off the human experience because, as you said, the definition, the state of being. Most of these definitions you read over the weeks, the state of being, and we are human beings. And so some things we have to be in life, and then there's some things we have to do in life. But our human experience is all around who we be. Yep. You have to be integrity. There's no integrity outside my window. Yep. Yeah, it goes into a phrase that's used often that I really don't like, but I'd say we take a quick break. Okay. You're not gonna drop the phrase first? Oh, you want to say the phrase? I'll say the phrase. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the phrase "act in integrity," and we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere. I'm with. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold, man.
I hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Yeah. Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn, are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait? 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org.
Welcome back to Beyond 2D with the fabulous Farron Dozier and myself, Jessica Dugas. And
Suspense.
let me just address a couple of these comments really quickly, and then we're going to get to, because I don't know if I'm ready for them. I'm trying to calm myself. Okay. Angelique said, keeping your word is definitely integrity. Brittany said, being able to communicate through the broken promises shows integrity to me, because being able to be honest in those broken promises is a sign of your true character, which is integrity. You get a bell, Brittany. You get a bell. Very good. Angelique said, thank you for saying that integrity isn't perfect. We can be so hard on ourselves for not being perfect. And I agree 100%, Angelique. And for me, it goes back to what Brittany was saying about being able to effectively communicate, which, if you need a little refresher, we have 4 episodes before this to effectively help you with your communication skills.
We broke it down.
We broke it down for you. But that's key. And I think that's one of the good things about us starting with communication, is because when we step out of integrity, when we forget what that integrity looks like to us, and whether it's subconscious or not, the great thing to do is to be able to communicate. I know that in the example that I shared, if I would have just said to my friend, I can't do this and I apologize, I know for a fact, looking back, that it would have been fine. But I thought so little of myself. I had so little self-worth at that time that I couldn't see it. I couldn't wrap my head around that I was enough just the way that I was. Couldn't do it. There's a phrase, act with integrity. And my thought when I hear this is, if you have to act, isn't that dishonest and therefore outside of integrity?
Well, again, human beings, we pretend we're hypocrites. You know, we go back to that one stage play with the one person that's doing all the acting, that's just changing the different masks in the different scenes. That's where hypocrite came from. That's what we do. We act like everything is fine. We act like we have integrity. But that's the true integrity. You experience being whole and complete. Like your self-expression, like you said, your self-expression is now available. Who you get to be is now available. Your honesty comes from that integrity, because you're honoring your word. And then that moral, this came up after you was talking, the moral, like in our conscious mind, we know what's right and wrong. So we know when we experience being right and wrong. Like we know. That's that moral compass that people talk about. We know that we have that, but then what's after that? When that pops up, if I'm diminished in myself and I don't want to look bad, I'm going to say, hey, I'll make a new promise, or I'll say, hey, I'll do this, because like you said, at the end of the day, I will do whatever it takes to look good, because I don't want to look bad. And I will lie to look good for right now. Right. And then maybe it'll go over and maybe not. And if I end up looking bad anyway, then I'm just gonna validate my own experience of myself. See, oh, you are a liar.
Mm.
You don't keep your word. See, there it is again. You don't see. Okay, well, I don't. So then why give my word?
Right. Right.
Like it's
Yeah.
tough.
I agree. I agree. I pulled a few quotes that I thought we could look at really quick, and you can tell me what you think of these.
Okay.
Integrity is choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain.
Hmm. Yeah, the values go back to principles for me.
Yeah, right. 100%.
So it goes
100%.
back to my morals, my character, my ethnic back, whatever, all my beliefs.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm taking all the beliefs from my theology. This is what I live by: my theology principles, my philosophy principles, and my ideology principles.
Mm.
I've been able to put those all together because they all came from the same place for me, which they
Right.
came from the Bible. So the principles, my philosophy principles, actually came from the Bible. The ideology principles from cognitive behavior classes, from mental health. Guess where those came from?
Mm.
From principles from the Bible. When you get to the core of what they're discussing, so by me having that revelation for myself, oh, they all go up under what I believe in my theology. So then,
Right.
at any given time, whether it's my subconscious mind, whether it's my conscious mind, or my spiritual being, they all my integrity is, this is what I love. Dr. Miles said, is taking all those ways of being and moral principles and
Mm.
giving one law.
Yeah.
Giving my subconscious mind one law, giving my conscious mind one law, and giving my spiritual being one law. So I can give it the law of my philosophy,
Right.
give it the law of the ideology, the VA cognitive behavior benefit, behavior classes, or I could give it the spiritual principles.
Mm.
But for how I grew up, the spiritual principles outweigh all those other ones.
Right.
So then I now live by those kingdom principles, which give me my strength, but also my eternal life that I believe, like beyond here. And so all of that, those other two actually go up underneath that. But at any given time, if I'm down in that diminished experience, and it's my thoughts, I know what principle am I using right now?
Right. Right.
What principle am I going to grab? Oh, I got to grab from that cognitive behavior principle, which says my thoughts are exaggerated. Oh, okay, if my thoughts are exaggerated, then that's not the truth.
Right.
Now we get back to the truth.
Yep.
So we have to have these values and these principles to live from, because they're going to help you gauge your experience of yourself. If I
Right.
can put that.
You have to have that touch point. You have to have that foundation in order to be able to go back to. I've always loved this one. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching.
Well, that's that doing it when you said you're gonna do it, and by the time the word, when you gave your word, to what time you're gonna do it.
Mm.
Even changing the time, you can change. Like I said, you can change. You can change a promise. But sometimes there are consequences with changing those promises, and you got to be okay with that. And that's still integrity to deal with, to say, you know what, I accept the consequence for me changing my word.
Mm.
It still keeps me in integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm okay with how you're experiencing this broken promise, because it's broken for you is valid.
Right. Right. And that, I mean, it kind of goes, this is a great one from Zig Ziglar. Trust is the byproduct of integrity. So when someone has integrity, we're more likely to trust them because they're following through, they're being honest, all of those qualities. And it kind of brings me into a little bit of how integrity shows up in relationships, because I think that, like we talked about, finding that place where we're able to meet in the middle, we're able to say, okay, you live from these principles, I live from mine. And one of the things that continually shows up as I interact with other people is expecting people to be something other than what they are. And so then we get into that place of feeling diminished, disappointed, all of those things. And it's as simple as but we make a bit, we get emotional about it, but it is as simple as going, they have different principles, and I'm getting disappointed because I'm expecting them to be something they're not. I'm trusting them when they perhaps haven't acted in the same level of integrity as where I'm at, or how I would act or behave.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and that byproduct of integrity is something that's very important because again, it's an experience that people experience from us.
Yeah. The last one I have is from Warren Buffett. He says, because this is on a little bit on the business side where integrity is concerned, and looking for people to hire, look for 3 qualities: integrity, intelligence, and energy. And if they don't have the first, the other 2 will kill you.
Ouch. Ouch.
So you can be smart. You can come to the table with lots of ideas and lots of energy and lots of experience and good things. But if you're not being honest, if you're not following through, if you're not acting in integrity, then we have a problem.
Wow.
And I go back to Angelique's comment as well about, saying that obviously we can act, we can have that integrity, like anything else is imperfect because we are human and humans are imperfect. But again, going back to what you said too, you got to be good with the consequences. You got to be good that if you come into the workplace with the know-how and the energy and you lie, you're probably going to get fired.
For real, right?
I mean, it's and then we're all upset. Then we're gonna get on social media and be like, "That's terrible," but we got to be good with knowing that, if we didn't, we got to work on that integrity piece.
I learned that without integrity, nothing works. That is the principle that I had to live my life up against. That without integrity, nothing works. Because nothing is perfect, but at least we can have workability. And if we have integrity with one another, then we have workability. And then when the workability is not there, it's not for me to blame you. First, it's for me to look at who have I been being, and where is my integrity out at? See, not where it's in, but where is it always out at? And it's always out. It's always, because it's an experience of myself.
Right.
And I have more of it being out than being in.
Yeah. How does it feel, or how do you recognize, Farron, do you feel it somewhere in your body? Do you experience a certain emotion when you realize that you're not acting on your principles, you're not in integrity in the moment? How does that feel?
Yeah, the more that I've been practicing the last 13 years, I'm still challenged. There's no lie there, but I do recognize that diminished experience of myself. And this last 6 months being delivered from self-loathing, using the Bible and using all of those other tools, my other philosophies and ideologies, I'm really present now to that diminished experience because I don't live in self-loathing anymore. The self-loathing allowed me to be okay with the diminished experiences. So now that I recognize it, I know what it feels like, and I don't want that life. I have to be aware. And so, yeah, I still catch myself. And again, the benefit of it is because it's not perfect. Maybe in the past, it would take me 3 days to recognize it. Now it takes me a day to recognize it, right? So it's not about being perfect. It's about that inner man recognizing, you could have said something different. You didn't do that when you said you was going to do it. So then do I beat myself up in my head? Or do I get the courage to say, hey, you know what? I need to talk to you. Or do I go to myself and say, okay, Farron, you didn't go to the gym yesterday. So guess what? When are we going to go? And give my word to myself and put it in my calendar and make it. Then that's where you got to make it, put it in life, schedule it, put it in my calendar.
Yeah.
Things like that. Put it in time and space. But in my head, it sounds good.
Yeah.
But if I really want to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym.
Yeah. You said a word in that as well. Courage. I wrote that down, courage. And it really is, I feel like it is a courageous act to be integrity, to live with integrity, because it's not always easy to confront that when you realize that you've dropped the ball, when you realize that you have not been honest or made a mistake. It's not hard, it's not easy to confront that, and then to communicate about it, then to choose to change it and be different going forward. That, for me, that's an act of courage.
But see, you just made my skin crawl, right?
Why?
Because it goes back to, this didn't happen in our adult life.
Yeah.
This happened in our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
This happened years ago. So can you imagine what children are dealing with today that we are so hard on them about? Like, we forgot we were children. We forgot where we came from. We forgot our experiences of our own parents. We forgot the little stuff that we used to do to try to get over and get by.
Right.
Like, we forgot that, as because now we're parents and we're adults. That's not me anymore. Guess what? You're still being used by those principles, the diminished principles, the diminished experiences. And so my skin crawl was the compassion and the experience of the hurt for the children, the teenagers who are dealing with this silently.
Right.
This is all emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Who are dealing with that is silently and emotionally, and is traumatized. Trauma is not always where you're getting beat or molested. Or emotional trauma is just as hurtful as physical. And I believe that's what God has allowed me to because I didn't have a lot of physical trauma, but I made up a lot of emotional trauma. And so that's why I can articulate this, and I've been at work at this, and I can speak from it wholeheartedly, because it was 99% more emotional. But it was all from Farron, who didn't understand as a child. My brain was functioning. My brain was giving meaning to life. And my parents, they didn't know. They didn't have that education. They didn't have child development classes. So they didn't know how to recognize my behavior as a child and correct it. They didn't know that. So I made it up myself, and that became my truth.
Yeah.
But as an adult, today, your truth will set you free from all that stuff that you said from 15 years ago, 30 years ago. For me, it was 40 years back. I had to go back and peel off all those layers from a 2-year-old, as far as I can remember, up until even now at 53. I'm still looking at stuff of why my behavior and where my integrity is out, because integrity is hard. I mean, I language it as hard because we don't want to look bad.
Right.
And we don't tell the truth to our children or to our loved ones. It's okay to look bad.
Right.
You know, nobody's perfect. So it's okay but for me to tell the truth, I might look bad, and you might not be my friend. You might not want to be married to me anymore. You might not want to talk to me. So then I'm gonna lose that. I'd rather lie to have that for this moment in time, because I'm not present to the consequences. I'm gonna lose that anyway if I don't tell the truth. That was me. I didn't realize the consequence, but I was gonna lose that relationship.
Right.
And I thought I was okay with it.
Right.
I thought I was okay with that consequence, but when the consequence actually showed up, oh, that's a real consequence. That's not like the music where we get to break up the makeup. No, that's real life consequences that we're not all present to. How we give our word. Yeah, and that's it's and so for me, I language it as life is exciting, it's fun, and it's dangerous. I got to be aware of when danger shows up, and it could be in my relationships with people. It could be my relationship with myself. My riding my motorcycle is not dangerous, but you put me trying to be in a relationship. Oh heck no!
Yeah,
that's dangerous.
Yeah,
my motorcycle not dangerous. Relationships dangerous. Yeah. So how do I behave when that danger shows up? Is on me. I have to be able to articulate that, emotional intelligence, that like all that. If I truly want to have a relationship with communication, with workability, with integrity, and I've had more years diminished. Yeah. So it's easy to go back to be diminished and be like, whatever, I'm okay.
I don't need to do that. I'm tired. I'm tired today.
She's gonna leave. But someday she's gonna leave anyway. So why bother?
Right.
I'm gonna lie for the moment.
Right.
I'm not gonna tell the truth. I'm gonna withhold communication. So I'm not gonna tell the whole truth and deal with that later.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I think the overall feeling that I'm taking away from today is really to go back and think about what those core principles are that you stand on. What's that foundation that you stand on? And if there's things there that don't belong to you, if there are things there that you need to examine, then we need to do the work to go back and peel off some of those layers. And that's how we begin to determine what our definition of integrity is and how we can be in that, not act on it, be in it.
Especially for who you are today.
Yeah.
Because I'm, like you said, I'm not Farron from 10 years ago anymore. Like,
right.
I'm Farron, but I'm not. And that's the thing. I'll end it with this. We're not fixed objects. We're not chairs. We're not tables. Your brain is malleable. You can grow. You can develop. You can create. You can learn. That's the difference between us and some animals and being a fixed object. A tree is going to always be a tree. A table is going to always be a table. Even though you can stand on it like a ladder, it's still a table. And we talk to one another. We look at one another as we're like you're as a fixed object. And because I look at you from that perspective, then how can you change? How can you grow? You're always going to, because I know you, so you're always going to be that way because you've been that way for 30 years. So then I know you, and you're not going to change because how I'm viewing you. But there's no space for you to grow because we all can. We all don't have to be the person we are yesterday.
Yeah.
We can change. We can get new principles. We can learn different things. And that can grow us and be responsible for our behaviors and our actions. And again, your truth will set you free. Not my truth, not Jessica's truth. Your truth will set you free. And so with all that stuff, I could watch TV and some things don't upset me that people get upset about in the world today. Because I found my peace in that. I'm not going to let CNN upset me because I found my principles and my views and my perspectives. And I found freedom in that. And what happens in the world, yes, is terrible and tragic, but I found my peace in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're definitely get into some of the relationship piece next time, and we're going to be diving into the relationship piece, but also what's our responsibility in this? Like what do we
be sick on the relationship piece? Just so you know, can we get somebody else? I'm gonna be sick that day.
No, you're not.
Whatever Tuesday that is, I'm gonna be sick.
Nope, because we're going to talk about relationship. What's our responsibility? Because remember, it's very similar when we talked about responsibility and communication. I think I know whose responsibility it is to act in integrity, but
I'm going to play with it anyway. I'm just telling you up front.
You're not. You feel a cough coming on? I don't think.
I'm gonna find you a co-host for that day. I'm gonna find a stand-in.
But we will have a co-host the following week. We're going to be talking about accountability. Yeah, that's going to be a whole vibe because you know who's going to be here with us, Farron, is Scott Mason, and you have not had the Scott Mason experience. Okay. Brittany can tell you about the Scott Mason experience. All right, it's a whole vibe. Scott Mason's going to be here with us that second Tuesday in June, and when we dig into accountability, it's gonna be a whole thing. Thank you for diving in, and thank you, Brittany and Angelique, and everybody else who's been here. I've seen y'all popping in and out, but thank you, Angelique and Brittany, for participating. Angelique was talking about this is another thing we can get into when Scott's here specifically, because I know he will speak to this in the workplace when the workplace isn't in integrity. Yeah,
Scott, you can have that one, Scott.
Yeah. That's gonna be a whole lot. Brittany's like, they really enjoyed this. Thank you, Jessica and Farron. It's always a vibe with you two. Appreciate you, Brittany. I can't wait to see. She knows Scott is gonna bring it. It's gonna be so good. Thank you, Farron, for sharing.
Thank you for being open and honest and sharing your life experiences. This is where people who watch get to learn. Like we're normal. We're regular people. We just choose to take on these conversations because we know that there's freedom on the other side. But you got to do your own work.
Yep. You got to do your own work. And any leader that's out there that's trying to tell you that they have never had to look at their own integrity, run. Run. Okay. All right. I love you all so much. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.